In Uma Musume, your horse is going to have 5 stats. There's speed, stamina, power, guts, and wit. In this video, I'm gonna only do speed, power, and wit because when I finished recording this, I realized the video was like super long. So stamina and guts will come right after this video. Let's first talk about speed, literally one of your most important stats. It basically increases your top speed during the last spurt of a race. In order to understand speed and why it's so important, let's quickly talk about how a race works. So the race is generally split up into 3 sections: beginning, middle, and end. The beginning part of the race is just the horses trying to get into their positions. So if you're a front runner, you're trying to get to the front of the pack, end runners go to the back of the pack, etc. The middle part of the race is like a holding pattern. So everyone's going to be holding their positions. Everyone's going to have a speed cap. This could be changed a little bit by your skills, but generally everyone's holding their pattern. The final part of the race is the last spurt. This is where your speed stat's going to shine, because what happens is the speed cap that was made in the middle of the race is now lifted and you can get to your max speed. So if your speed stat is higher, your max speed is higher, so you have a better chance of basically getting into first place. This is why your speed stat is like super important. Of course, there's some math behind how your speed is actually calculated. I'm going to throw them up top, but basically your speed is also affected by your strategy, by where you are in the race, by your distance, etc. So as you can see from this other chart, you can see that in general, a front runner is going to have a worse multiplier at the end of a race, but an end closer is going to have the best multiplier. I'm gonna skip to power just because it kind of goes along with speed. So power basically is how quickly you're gonna accelerate to your top speed. So above you can see is the acceleration formulas. And as you can see, power has a big effect on it. In addition, the phase of the race / your strategy and also your surface aptitude all affect your acceleration. So this is just a chart showing your strategy versus where you are in the race on your acceleration based off of that formula before. So if you're in the beginning part of the race, front runners generally have a multiplier of 1, but at the end of the race, only late surgers have a multiplier of 1, which is kind of interesting. In addition to acceleration, power can also affect how quickly you change your lanes. Here is the formula for the math nerds out there. Since we're skipping around anyway, I'm going to move on to wit. So wit actually controls a few things. It affects when your skills are going to trigger. It affects a thing called rushed. It can also affect your chance of increasing your speed on downhills. And it also helps get to your target speed at each section of a race. So first, wit can actually affect your chance of proccing a skill. So as you can see from above, if you have a wit of like 200, you have a 55% chance of proccing your skill. At 700 wit, you have an 87% chance. So generally people aim for around 400 to 500 just because after that, there's like diminishing returns. Another thing wit can affect is if your horse becomes rushed or not. Rushed is basically the first half of a course. There's going to be 12 seconds where your horse is going to consume 60% more HP and can switch to a more aggressive style of running. So if they're like an end runner, they might try to go more towards the front of the pack, etc. And then every 3 seconds during rushed, they have a 55% chance of breaking free from rushed. However, if you have higher wisdom, your percentage chance of becoming rushed, which is calculated at the start of the race, increases. So if you're at wisdom 200, you have a 24.17% chance of being rushed, but if you're at 700, you have a 12.32% chance of being rushed. Again, there's those diminishing returns around the 400 to 500 range. It can also give you a chance to increase your speed on any downhills. It's calculated as 0.04% times your wisdom stat. Wit can also affect your target speed at each section of a race. So for this, they split the race into 24 little sections, and a random modifier gets applied to your target speed. So first, they're going to calculate your max modifier, which is based off your wit, as you can see from above. And then there's a minimum modifier, which is just that max minus 0.65. So as you can see from this chart, you have a max modifier of 0.047% and a min of negative 0.603% if you have a wisdom of 200, and at 700 it's a 0.235% max mod and a negative 0.415%. That would be added on to your top speed randomly. Thank you so much for watching this video on how stats work. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comments below, and I'll be sure to put out more guides. I hope they're being helpful. Thanks so much, and good luck with your umas. Bye!